beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obuchi. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's been a very hectic week for a lot of Nigerians, whether you're talking politically or the economy, or insecurity or otherwise. We woke up this morning hearing news about an incident that occurred in Delta States, where I believe at least 14 or 15 members of the Nigerian Armed Forces were killed. And there have been just conflicting reports about, what's going to happen, what has happened. And we're just, first of all, sending our condolences to the families of those soldiers who were murdered. And, of course, to the Nigerian defense community as a whole. But also hoping that this does not escalate into something that the country cannot afford at this time. There's way too much going on, and we're hoping that this entire situation is handled in the best way possible with no more loss of lives, at least we're hoping. But I'm joined here by Bayemioke, who's been here before. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ebuka.
Yeah, just quickly on that note, we are still not sure exactly what's happened in Delta State, but there's any thoughts on that?
I personally think that the rate at which the security in Nigeria is depreciating is becoming concerning. But for us, even though we live in Lagos, we don't live in Delta State. When we get to that point where people or citizens or some crooks of guys are attacking the Nigerian military, it becomes really disturbing and concerning. I've been following the news since yesterday, and it's sad. Like you said, condolences to the families of those that lost their loved ones, and of course to the Nigerian military system as a whole. However, I think the response of the military also needs to be checked. Two wrongs will never make a right. I think we should let intelligence take a lead in solving this problem and not necessarily emotions or force. And I hope that we're able to bring the perpetrators of this very awful act on the nation, because they didn't just attack those families, they attacked the nation. On the nation, I hope that they are being brought to book at the earliest possible time. But my condolences to the family and, of course, to the Nigerian military force.
Very true. I mean, the Nigerian Army handled on X, formerly known as Twitter, did say that some arrests have been made and steps are in place to unravel the motive behind the attack. So we're hoping that at least it's handled in that way. But let's move away from that quickly and just go into the economy, because it's been a big thing in the last year plus, right. And even longer, because it's hard to come across Nigerians anymore who have a smile on their faces. Mm-hmm. Things are unbelievably tough. We did get the inflation numbers for February 2024 at 31.7%, up from 29.9% in January. These are record numbers on so many levels for Nigerians, and people say it's even higher, especially when you talk about food inflation. We'll go to the markets and we see, what's going on there. How are Nigerians surviving? Do you see any headway anytime soon in the horizon?
Ebuka, inflation generally in Nigeria is 70% decided by our commodities, our consumables, both local and imported. 70% of inflation is driven by this. It shows that if intervention is not done quickly and rightly, we may be heading for even higher inflation. I don't know if the tight monetary policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria is necessarily solving the problem, but I will leave that for economists to argue. But from my own point of view, as a development practitioner, I believe that if 70% of our inflation is dictated or by, consumables, I believe that it is high time we start looking at, diversifying our economy. We have been talking about this, we have been paying lip services to this, and for a country that is import dependent, you should expect that our economy is highly dollarized. So if we are not, we need to reduce the cost of energy, reduce the cost of production. We need to give attention to local assets development. Security is actually part of the things that is, driving inflation high. The government is doing everything it can. Of course, inflation is a monster that needs to be fought, right? I see the government doing that in terms of, tightening the monetary policy. But how that is going to solve the problem in the long run is what I don't know. But I think in the immediate, we need to actually pay more attention, to local assets development, to ensuring that we improve the security so that improve security so that our farmers can go back to farm. We need to start exploring cheaper sources of energy so that cost of production, can reduce. Manufacturers they're complaining. P&G has left. Several other companies are leaving. Multinationals are leaving because of how hard things are, as far as the country is concerned. So I think we need to, increase our foreign reserve, of course, by maybe improving, production or increasing production of crude oil. But most importantly, we need to diversify our economy, stop paying lip services to this, and make sure that our farmers can go back to farm, increase security, make sure that we incentivize agriculture as much as we can. If our inflation is driven by food, we need to do a lot more in incentivizing food production, in Nigeria. But Ebuka, if you look at it, the states that controls the 30% of Nigerian landmass for education and for agriculture today are under siege. If you look at Niger State, if you look at states like Adamawa and some of these other states that control 30% of our landmass, you see that insecurity is a major problem, in terms of food production in Nigeria. And as long as that continues, we're going to actually continue to see rising inflation. And how much longer, Nigerians can withhold or withstand this pressure, this inflationary pressure before it, degenerates to a state of anarchy in the country is what I don't know. But I hope that I believe that the government is listening, and I think that they should continue to intensify their effort in stabilizing the economy, especially in local asset production and providing security to improve food production and of course reduce the cost of production for manufacturers.
What are your thoughts on this idea that maybe we need to look back at our policy on the ban of importation of certain foods, whether it's rice. Wheat keeps coming up a lot, right? Nigeria is a huge consumer of wheat. And a lot of the bans on these things was placed because we're trying to encourage farming, local farming. Things that are not banned, the tariffs are ridiculous. I think it's almost a 70% tariff on wheat.
Yeah. And
Nigeria consumes, from bread to everything, we have to import these things. What we produce in Nigeria, I hear, is just about 5 or 6% of what we actually use. So it's not like importing is going to hurt that. That's illogic. Do you think some of these things need to be looked at where, the customs keep hiking prices? There was an adjustment again last week to 1,600 to the dollar for clearing stuff. So shouldn't that be some sort of short-term goal, you think, while we're looking at all these diversifications that we keep talking about that look more medium to long term?
If we're not, I agree with you 100%. If we're not producing enough to serve the local needs, and of course we are an import-dependent, economy. The government is saying, oh, we are giving discounts on food, oh, we are giving palliatives. That is not a solution to our problem. That is not a sustainable long-term solution to our problem. So I agree with you that in the interim, on the short-term basis, the government may need to reduce tariffs or give concession. We are giving concession to some of these billionaires, on some of their, import transactions. So who says that we should not consider the same policy adjustment, for especially in the food, in food security, to secure, food the more in the country. So maybe we can give concession, maybe make, importation of wheat, tariff-free, and rice and some production that maybe will solve our immediate problem as far as the country is concerned, whilst we, put more effort into increasing local productivity of some of these, commodities. I think I agree with you in terms of concession, in terms of tariffs, on some, categories of food. And the government has been advised, and I believe that the advisors of the government are also, they should be, they are in the streets. They are seeing, they are hearing, they are seeing, hopefully they are feeling the pain of an average Nigerian. And I believe that, issuing concession and, making some of these food items, tariff-free can solve our problem in the short term. I think I agree with you 100% on that, Ebuka.
Sometimes it's hard to believe that they feel it. When you hear figures like 3.7 trillion being thrown around in the Senate about what was funded and what was not. But that's a conversation for later. The Lagos State government, of course, the governor has, talked about this thing he's trying to do with food markets to sell foods at cheaper rates. I think it's supposed to kick off today.
Yes, it did.
25% discounts on staples like rice, beans, gari, bread, eggs, and I'm wondering, how is this supposed to work? Is this something that looks like it's sustainable? It looks like if I mean, we're just trying to patch things. Does it look like something that is worth, the while for something that is this deeply rooted?
Yeah. First of all, I think Governor Sanwo-Olu needs to be, really applauded, for showing concern for the, livelihood of the citizens, So if anything, any government official is doing right now to cushion this inflationary pressure and whatever, the hardship that we have in the land is actually commendable, and I think I really want to applaud him. As much as that is very important and that is applaudable in the short term, it does not solve the long-term problem, Of course, if you watched the media chat Governor Sanwo-Olu had with the media houses, I believe Channels was also one of them, one of the media houses invited, you would see that he has, a long-term plan. I hope that they can stick to the plan. I know he has really competent people in government. I believe that they can stick to his plan to have a long-term solution to food problem as far as Lagos State is concerned. And I think that the work is doing at Imota. He has talked about, importing paddies so that we can have more rice production. I hope that the government gives him the concession the state requires to be able to import, more paddies. And I also, the work he's doing in Ekpe, region to see how to maximize, Lagos is small in terms of farmland, and I see the partnership they have with Ogun State in terms of food production and other northern states. So you can see visionary leadership of, Governor Sanwo-Olu to tackle the problem. So, but in the interim, this intervention is applaudable. We should and I think other states can learn from it. All right. However, I think we need to also start looking at how do we profile long-term solution to making sure that households can sustain themselves. So and that comes with heavy investment in agriculture. The Badagry region of Lagos State has been long abandoned in terms of investment in agriculture. That area is still developing. You have high land mass. Lagos State government has a farm settlement there, and I think more investment in that axis in Ekpe and Ikorodu, that's the developing regions of Lagos State in agriculture. We actually do a lot more, incentivizing farmers, and of course providing more security for farmers, and of course access to financing, especially because if you look at the interest rate and lending rates today, no farmer can go to the bank to actually to lend money for agricultural purposes. So government can actually pump some of this money into providing single-digit loans or possibly grants for farmers so that we can have more food production for state consumption.
Are any of these great ideas going to work? I mean, yes, we've all talked about funding for agriculture, do better with storage of our produce, delivery, transportation, and all of that. Is any of this going to work with the way our security is set up today? Farmers can barely farm. The ones who farm can't transport because they're either attacked on the way, or we hear all the stories, whether it's in Benue, in Plateau, in Delta, now wherever it is, it's a recurring story now for probably about a decade now. Nobody seems to know how to fix that, or is there just no political will?
Political will, I wouldn't be able to answer because I'm not there, but security is critical to development. A country cannot be stable, no development can happen if insecurity is prevalent like we have it in Nigeria today. So I think the president needs to declare a state of emergency that has already declared itself on security in Nigeria. And I think our service, where are the days where intelligence gathering was really like one of the major strengths of Nigerian security, military forces? So I think that we need to go back to the days of intelligence gathering, and of course have more collaborative effort between these apparatus. That's security apparatus. And of course I think community policing, I think the government to start looking at community policing right now, because I think it's going to go a long way in solving the security problem, because if the people are being empowered to protect themselves, it is easier for farmers to protect themselves, or for government to provide security for farmers and they can go to the farm. the same thing for transportation. Apart from even the insecurity on transportation, the cost of transportation is really high. I see the transitioning from, the plan of the government to transition from, PMS consumption to CNG, which is really beautiful. How faster can we, implement some of these policies? Improving interconnectivity within Nigeria is also very important. The train system, the Lagos-Abuja road, the new road, and some of these things needs to be done. And I think we need to actually just localize our, security infrastructure and see how, we need to adopt. It's high time we started looking at this community policing and state policing and see how how that, quickly, helps us in providing security, especially for farmers. So I agree with you. Security is critical to this stability we are looking at, especially in terms of food production, and of course, financing is key as well, because we have places where, relatively security is high, is good enough, but, these farmers are unable to go back to the farm.
There's no access.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Apoyemi. Okay, it's going to be a very long year. Everybody keeps saying that, and we're just hoping we can all make it, make it out alive.
We are resilient people. We're
Thanks
resilient
for being
people.
Here today.
Thank you, Ebuka, for having me.
We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back. I have a special guest here with me who is lighting up our screens and doing a lot of very interesting things on television, but she's also an influencer, lifestyle influencer, I believe.
Yes.
Amongst other things we're going to find out today. Thanks for being here today, Hawa Magaji.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, congratulations. I think I saw you on a brand new show.
Yes, you did.
With Joke Silva,
Tanya Omotayo and Uriel.
What is that?
So it's Husband Material. That's the name of the show. So basically, we are just like finding out if the men of this our time are husband material, basically. So we give them easy household chores, what they think are typically for the women. We see if men can actually do it and handle it, yeah.
Oh, that
and
sounds
so far, so good.
No, my men cannot disappoint me. I did disappoint him.
A lot have disappointed, though. A lot have disappointed, but it's pretty good.
That's nice. When can we watch it?
You can watch it on Africa Magic Showcase, Saturday and Sunday at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get on TV, though?
Oof. Where do I start from? How did I get on TV? I started from radio. I figured if I could carry the audience on radio when they're not saying that I'm a fine girl, I'll probably be able to do TV. And actually, my first show on TV was last year on Africa Magic Showcase as well. DSTV took a chance on me, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you still do radio?
No. I left radio like 3 years ago.
It was just a...
It was a stepping stone. It was a means to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a means to an end. It wasn't the goal.
Nice. How are you finding it, though? Because there's the argument that this TV is still going to be here in a few years. There's the argument that it's probably transitioning to other things where it's online and people do things on their terms.
Yeah.
But traditional television, I'm sure you're finding it exciting, but are you worried about what it will be in, say, 10 years?
Not really, just because I feel like I also have transitioned to the social media as well. I'm not just fully on the traditional media, that's TV. Yeah. But I also genuinely feel like in the next 10 years, a lot of people might not be watching our regular TVs, if we are being honest. But that's because everything has been made so easy. You could just pull out your smartphone and you're watching something, you're streaming, you're on the go. Yeah. You could easily do everything on the go. So I feel like, traditional TV might feel
Content is really winning.
Content is winning, and content is key.
Is that a good thing or bad thing? I guess it's both, but what do you think outweighs? Because this whole content is king. You go on social media apps, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Twitter, and there's information overload. And it's also hard for a lot of people to decipher what is
true and real
and
what isn't,
which is where traditional TV, wins, because things are verified and all of that. Yeah. How do you find the way content is sort of transforming? Okay. Are you happy? Are you worried?
A bit worried because there's a lot of false information that is passed around. And if you don't do your research properly, you'll be carrying the fake news up and down, also using word of mouth to spread it to other people. However, I also feel like people are drawn more towards content because it's easy. It's not the regular sitting down for long hours and, I'm watching something. now our attention span is very, Gen Zs, the new generations, the attention span is short. Literally, they don't want to watch 10, 15 minutes videos. They want quick 2 minutes, quick 5 minutes.
Tell me everything I need now.
So, because I have a show on YouTube, and last season I realized we were doing 40-minute episodes. People were only watching, if you check my analytics, people were watching max 15 minutes, 17 minutes. So these days, I've reduced it to 12 to 15 minutes episodes. But I've realized that people like the short-form content more, or this new generation, we prefer the short-form content to the long-term content. So that's why I feel like content-wise, content might go way farther in the coming years than TV.
Yeah. So the influencer side of things for you, did it kick off before TV?
Yes,
what made you go in there? Was it the money? You were saying people just making money.
Honestly, when I tell people that media fell on my lap, they don't believe me, because I was doing a 9-to-5 in a power company, and I studied law in school, so I don't even know how I was doing power, but I hated it there. And I was at a friend's house, and a popular drink brand came to shoot her for something, and they were like, "Oh, you're pretty. Can we shoot you?" And honestly, they shot me, and the next time that brand reached out to me, they wanted to sign me for a year. And that was how I started. Honestly, because I'm also a host, I would go for my events and I would post pictures and videos on social media. And I realized, oh, people are actually eating this content up. Like, they're enjoying it. So, okay, I make it work.
So you find a lot of people who are trying to get into this space, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of younger people now. I think I saw some statistic recently. I don't know the exact figure, but it was something around 30% of Gen Zs wants to have a career online, whatever it is.
People feel like it's easy.
And that is a huge chunk. I mean, this didn't exist a generation ago, so that's how heavy it is. But a lot of people don't also know how to find their way, or they find their way in the wrong ways, you know? How do you build a brand in content creation to be taken seriously?
So I would advise, find a niche. You can't do everything. But I mean, maybe in the beginning, you can dabble here and there to figure out what would really stand out for you. Find a niche and start. That's what I always just say, start. Because I just started. When I watched my videos from like 4 years ago, I'm like, who was even hyping me up then? These videos were terrible. But find a niche and start. And you would perfect it along the way. You would learn from other people. You would figure it out. And networking is key. That's something I realized in this industry. You have to network, because your next bread is coming from somebody that has linked you and called your name in a room that you didn't even know existed, type of thing. So yeah, start. And
What matters now in content creation? Because I hear a lot about interaction. There was a time when it was the number of followers you had. Do those things still matter, or is it just the quality of what you put out?
So, I mean, so for some brands, it matters. You know, now they've put us in categories. They are micro-influencers and macro-influencers and nano-influencers. So that's based off of your numbers, like the numbers of following and your reach and everything. However, honestly, I feel like your quality of your content is what stands out. There are people that have maybe 20K followers, and if you see the content they put out, you'll be saying, this one that has 4 million followers is not even giving us the same caliber of content, if I put it that way. But something else I always say is, if I'm being honest, just do you. Like, there's no one else like you. Just do you, and you'll be unique, and you'll figure it out.
But that do you sometimes, I mean, there are people who say, this is what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to watch me do this because it's not a very exciting, which is why certain things are more popular. Skit making, you know, lifestyle, or whatever it is. So I also want to make money, right?
There's an audience for everything, though. There's honestly an audience for everything. Like, you see me, when I'm going through my TL. So
what do you do? What would you call yourself? What sort of content do you do?
I do fashion and lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, when I'm going through my content, I hardly see skits. And that's because that's not the content I consume. I always tell people I think I have a terrible sense of humor. So that's not so I feel like there's an audience for every kind of content you want to put out. If you want to do makeup, there are makeup people. If you want to do playing games, you know, there are people that just find your audience and find your niche.
At what point does this thing starts to bust at the seams? Because now you just mentioned makeup, and off the top of my head, I could think of multiple people how many makeup tutorials can I actually watch before I'm like, you know what, okay, I get it. You know, is there going to be a point where it's like, how many of these people can they be? So
it's just like fashion. I'm sure there's a million of us doing fashion content. But there's something that my followers have found to me that is peculiar to me, and they found it unique. So you have to find your own originality. Like I always say, there's nobody like you outside. Almost all my friends do the same thing, exact same thing I do. But like, you would find out that we're all different in our own ways. We're all unique, and we all stand out in our own way. At what point is it going to start busting at the seams? in the coming years it's gonna start, because honestly everybody wants to be an influencer now. I feel like everybody thinks it's easy, you know, we get free stuff and we, you know, people see, but people don't also see the hard work that goes into it and the long hours and the fact that you can quit your regular, you can stop your 9 to 5 at 5 p.m. and go home. Some of us, we are still shooting, and everything is content. You're on vacation, you're still shooting, you're not resting. When you think, oh, I'm supposed to be resting, I don't rest. Like every time I'm in my phone, I'm like, oh, this might be good content, and it's like there's no time to rest. But I feel like it will bust at the seams soon.
Do you feel like you get taken seriously though when you say I'm a content creator away from your industry? Like, do you think there's, like in the wider society, do you believe, or do you feel like there's that sort of respect yet?
I feel like now, maybe not really when I started, but now everybody's realizing this is the next thing, this is the next big thing. Maybe after tech, maybe you can find us, you know. So I think now people are getting to be more open to it and everything. But I think maybe we don't have that recognition that professional, traditional, you know, professions have.
Which was going to be my next question, because it's like, okay, most occupations around the world, not necessarily do you have to go to school for them, but there's some sort of training that comes with it, whether it's in tech, whether it's a carpenter, whether it's a doctor. There's some sort of formalization you have to go through before getting to that. With content creation, it seems like it's just, oh, grab a camera and do this thing.
Grab a camera and do this thing.
Isn't that a problem?
No, so, I mean, over time, I realized, like me, I just started, I won't lie. I just started. I did not know how to edit. I didn't know how to do anything. But I took time. I took professional editing classes. I took courses. And I just feel like it's like, maybe it's not like your regular school, but you still have to keep learning. Editing styles have changed. When I was editing 4 years ago and now I'm like, you know, editing, so it's something you have to constantly keep practicing and learning along the way. So, yeah.
So on Thursday, I believe, the United States Congress,
TikTok, America,
did say that gave TikTok an option to either sell to America or it gets banned. And of course, I guess every Gen Z in America is shaking. And
people have been shaking.
Effects on other countries, because some other countries might say, okay, America has done this,
we might be able to do it.
I guess we might be able to ape it. We see Mark Zuckerberg every other month in front of Congress testifying for something with Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. So it's like there's a constant threat hanging over these apps where your job leaves, you know? And if TikTok happens now, TikTok is probably the bulk of where Gen Zs are now. If TikTok gets affected and there's a spillover effect around the world, we don't know who's next. What then happens to this
I was having this conversation with my niece yesterday, you know, because she was like, Auntie, I think I want to be an influencer. And I'm like, guess what? I have my degree. I went to school. I have professional certifications. There's a plan B. If today they want to pack up all the social media apps, I'll take my CV and go and start begging. Do you want to hire me? Do you want to hire me? But no, I feel like it's a big problem because I've seen a lot of videos of people saying, oh, my find out on TikTok, you know, people complaining. I don't know where a lot of people are going to start from if this happens on this side of the world, because it's a lot of people have dropped out of school. A lot of people have said, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to chase. But I also feel like social media is not going anywhere anytime soon. Social media is the next thing. So I think we are going to survive.
Do you have this conversation a lot with your colleagues about a plan B?
I think we all have plan Bs.
Know that it's something that's important?
I think I would like to believe so. Maybe not everybody, but I would like to. Everybody that tells me, "Oh my God, you inspire me. I want to do this," I'll say, "Go to school." You don't necessarily have to learn content creation in school, but go to school and get a degree. Worst case scenario, if they say the internet is down in the whole wide world for the next 3 years, you still have a way you're going to eat. You still have, you know, a way to make money and all those things. So
Putting you on the spot a bit now, because content creators around the world, especially in the United States, parts of the Middle East, tend to influence sort of political culture, right? You know, where we've seen it a lot with the Israel-Palestine issue. You know, there's people who are constantly, you know, using their platforms to propagate whatever it is they believe in, places like that. There's almost a belief that here, if it's not lighthearted, people don't really want to engage. Why do you feel like content creation has not gotten there yet in Nigeria, you know, with people who are, okay, I'm just a content creator, but I'm influencing policy, or at least engaging young people on these things? Or is it happening and it's just not amplified enough?
So I think it's happening and it's not amplified. But I always say, so like I'll give an instance, the thing happening with Israel and Palestine. I've seen a lot of people come out, content creators, even international content creators on social media saying, you guys are not lending your voice. Why are you not using your platforms? First of all, you didn't follow us because we are political analysts. I like to say that. And something I've learned in the media, I don't like to really share my opinions like that. I might have an opinion, but that's not why you followed me. That's not why I have that platform. The fact that I have this number of followers and I can speak about it, I think it should be my discretion whether or not I want to speak about it. You don't know my stance on whether or not I like to be involved in anything political. So I don't like when the people try to put that pressure on content creators or like just popular people in general, media personalities. Oh, you have this following. How many? There are a lot of other people that have that following that are talking. Not everybody is going to talk. Not everybody is going to want to talk. And I feel like it should be okay, to not want to air your opinion that publicly. And people don't also know what you're doing behind the scenes and how you're helping behind the scenes. The fact that you're not coming online and making noise about it doesn't mean you're not also working and trying to change policies or, fight for women's rights or all those things behind the scenes. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Fair enough. So you come from a 9 to 5, you're in this industry now. What's probably the one thing that surprised you about whether it's the media space or entertainment space or content creation space that maybe you thought you knew before getting in?
People are packaging. People are living fake lives that are not their real lives.
My God.
I think that was the most surprising for me.
There's a lot of flash.
There's a lot of. So a lot of people I used to love and look up to, I finally got to meet when I got into the industry. And I'm like, oh.
It's not really giving.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now. So I understand now. Okay, it's just for the public eye.
I'll ask for the names off air.
But yeah, that was the first thing. That was the first, I wouldn't say it's a cultural shock, but that was the first professional shock. I'm like, oh, okay, so not everything is real. Yeah. A lot of things are
Did it scare
facade.
you? Because sometimes you're like, okay, I guess it's not as rosy as I thought, and they might just disappear.
Honestly,
did it make you want to be like, okay?
No, it didn't scare me. It just made me decide that I don't want to be like that. I want people to see my online personality and see me, and maybe the only thing they will tell me is, you're more beautiful in person than online. Not that, you see me in real life and it's a part of my life is different from what you expected or what you thought. So yeah, but it didn't scare me, no.
Awesome stuff. What's the plan for the rest of 2024?
Shooting shows. I have shows coming in the works. I don't know if I'm allowed to say them yet. I don't think I can really say them yet. But just follow my social medias. You guys will be up to date on everything I'm doing. And it's how I magaji on everything. Universal. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. My name is Universal everywhere.
More TV, more content creation.
More TV, more content, yeah.
And
hopefully bigger international brand deals, brand trips,
I'm trying to drag men on Africa Magic. Be careful. Thank you very much, Hawa. It's been a pleasure having you here.
So
I'm a big fan of yours. So
I'm a big fan of yours.
I hope I'm not on the list of people you met and were disappointed.
Real life.
I'm just kidding. Thanks a lot. We're going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Please stay with us. So the past week was quite heated at the Red Chamber in the National Assembly. The Senate was, it was drama all through, but it opened the eyes of a lot of Nigerians to so many things that were insinuated in the past or assumed. And I guess things got a little clearer, but got blurry again. We're talking about Senator Ningi, who got suspended from the Senate for 3 months for allegations that the Senate padded the 2024 budget to the tune of 3.7 trillion naira with nothing allocated for it. We're going to be quickly dissecting that. I have here with me Oluwagbemi Galano. Thanks for being here today. What were your thoughts on what happened? Because I was watching and I wasn't sure what to make of things. I mean, we've always heard about this budget padding, but we've never really seen a member of the Senate, make those sort of allegations in the chamber in that way.
Okay, well, I would say it's actually not the first time we have that, because in the past two, maybe 2016 or so, a member of the House
House of Representatives,
the House of Representatives came up to say that there was budget padding. And I think what we're having now is slightly different from what has been, because on the whole analysis of it, I think we might not call it budget padding, but we might also call it budget padding because it may be an end to a means.
But we didn't even get to hear.
The means to an end.
I think what worried a lot of people was that we didn't get to hear completely from Senator Ningi. People said, oh, but he should have been led to defend himself. They said, but he had defended himself enough, and the Senate had decided, did you find that entire scenario, before we even get to the details of what was padding or not,
yes,
with how his situation was handled, was done well?
Well, I think it might raise some fundamental issues of justice, because the same people that felt wronged by the actions of the Honorable Senator also punished him, because under the law, you might say that for part of the fundamental principles of justice, you cannot be a judge in your own cause. Maybe he might have been given fair hearing, but from what information has, he actually told that to the President of the Senate House, and without giving some time, he said, let me look at it, and within some time, he started to air it in the public. I think that might raise some issues of whether or not there is a good intention in the first place for raising that kind of allegation. Because it should have been left to the House to deal with first, then before it's made to be public.
Let's quickly go to Abuja studios now. We're joined now by Kafra Kaino, who is the immediate past executive chairman of Kaju local government. Thanks for joining us. If you can hear me, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, Senator Ningi in particular. A lot of the senators were not very happy with him, especially with the fact that it seemed his interview on the BBC House of Service, there was a belief that he had a lot of tribal and sectional connotations, where he kept saying that, the North wasn't benefiting from this budget, almost sort of made, for want of a better word, his allegations seem petty, or it wasn't like he had a lot of weight, because okay, if your North wasn't affected, would you have spoken up? Did you find that he presented his case well enough?
Well, thank you very much, Ebuka. What I feel is that Senator Abdul Ningi, I think the way he presented his case, I think we have one or two issues with it. He didn't present it or how a distinguished senator should. But the crux of the matter, and most importantly, is that something was projected to the public. I think Nigerians should be very happy, even though I don't know what becomes of that information after getting to the citizens. But for me, the most important thing is something was projected, was put out in the public, and it calls for a kind of discussion, for public discourse. I think it's time that Nigerians start getting serious and looking into the budget, whatever is being presented to the House. Because it's something usually on a good day, they just put it out for the public, and then people don't get to question what goes on in the budget. And then what are we doing to ensure that we call for accountability? Except for the civil service organizations and all that, besides them, I think a lot of Nigerians just go about their daily business and not watching or paying keen attention to what is happening with the budget and how it's being executed. But I think the moment has come, because most of us just complain about the economy being bad, but how did we get here? This is what Nigerians are now asking. And like I said, like I always say, being a former executive chairman of a local government, the citizens most times are even not aware of what is going on, or not interested in how their lives are being guided, because budget basically, entails or directs the part of the economy. And then a lot of people are not putting their concentration, are not watching, are not calling for accountability. They just leave, and then when things get bad, they start complaining. For me, what Senator Ningi did, yes, it may not be put out well how he should by going to BBC directly. And BBC is an international, or is a company that belongs to another country, putting out our issues out there. But most importantly, a public discourse has been brought up to the surface. And it's time that Nigerians start talking, and we start questioning, we start calling for accountability and see. And then also, I would like to mention that I think what Senator Ningi said, for anybody that has been following up what has been happening in the National Assembly, it's not new. Last year in December, when the budget was passed onto the Senate, I think I recall vividly when the budget was passed, some people raised the observation in the Senate that about 4 trillion then about 4 trillion was not tied to anything, was not tied to any project, was left. I know how budget works, but then I thought, okay, it's a new thing that's coming on board, and then maybe this sum is supposed to be projected aside for unforeseen circumstances or situations. But then coming to say it's not tied to anything, and then what becomes of this? I was thinking by now, or maybe it calls for supplementary later in the year or that. But I think it's not a new thing. It was there. It was mentioned in December. People just didn't pay notice. But it's not new to me because I've heard it before. So what Senator Ningi raised is something I've heard before in December last year. So.
The argument for a lot of some of the senators and saying that they've not done anything illegal, which also brings back the question of this appropriation power that the National Assembly has, especially the Senate. Every single year we've had a budget, probably since 1999. There's always talk about why do they have to add on whatever it is the president submits, but it's like it's the power that they have, and as long as that power rests with them, this will always be an issue. And like you said, because maybe Nigerians don't pay enough attention, we've never really bothered. Does that power not negate some of the things Senator Ningi has said, or did they flout anything, in your opinion, the Senate?
Sorry, come again.
Do you think the Senate flouted anything? Did they do anything illegally with what has happened, considering the fact that they actually have the power of appropriation?
Well, it depends on who really injected these 3.7 trillion into the budget. It depends on who injected it. But like I said, it's something I've heard before. So, if you've seen the press release by a jury, that's the presidential spokesperson, I think he tried to speak about this and said they handed over a budget. He talked about 25 trillion, and then he said I stand to be corrected though. He said in his press release that the National Assembly, the Senate, went into the budget and added about over 1 trillion into the budget. I think I have that copy of that press release. So the question is who really, if there was any 3.7 trillion, who injected that into the budget? And like I said, it's what we should be asking questions. Senator Ningi claimed he paid some consultants to look into this. And if consultants were consulted, and people were consulted to look into the budget, and this is what has been found, I think he should be given an opportunity to really speak. There should be a debate on this. And I think it was where the Senate was very fast in suspending him. Yes, I understand there is a procedures, there's ethics in the Senate and all that, but I think it was really fast in suspending him. We've seen a couple of times that people have spoken and then given some kind of misinformed the general public about situations on ground. I wouldn't want to go straight to any figure, but we remember even the Senate president at the time talked about 30 billion being given to all state governors. And then later it was confirmed, some of the governors came out and said there was nothing like this. So I think with that kind of situation, he should have been given an opportunity to really speak on what he has found out. But I think what happened in the Senate the other day, where after which he was suspended, I think it was a form of, I see it, I think he was threatened. I believe before he came to the floor, there were a lot of talks and there were a lot of intimidation, I could call that. It's my own opinion, though. A lot of intimidation, of the outcome. In the 8th Senate, senator from Kaduna State also spoke about the salaries of senators, and that almost cost him a suspension ticket. He said if not for the Senate president who stood by him and helped him, he would have been suspended. So I understand that they have how they do their things in the Senate. But then I think we need to start probing more. We need to start probing more. For me, if I would have my way, if I were to be president today.
In the studio with me, because he's talked there about very, very important issues, about how quickly this happened, which was what I was trying to get to. But also the way it looks at a time when we're going through probably our worst economic crisis in decades. We are hearing all of these figures, 3.7 trillion. Another senator came and said people were getting 500 million and he didn't get. Some other people got constituency payments and some senators didn't get. You hear all of these stories. Now we saw the Arewa Consultative Forum telling the Senate President to step down because of how weighty these allegations are. Is that a valid thing at this point? And also considering the mood of the nation.
Yes.
The way this has been handled and all of this that have come out, shouldn't we know more?
I think we deserve to know more in the real sense of it, but I would say that the senator coming to, I would say, throw the whole house under the bus in a process he was part of, and now after the budget has been approved since December last year, it's now coming up to say that there was a pardon. I think, and also the mode or the modalities he explored in passing this information across. Because why should it be so rapid, so quick, something that an allegation that can undermine the integrity of the parliament of that nature? Why so rapid? Why so quick? Then why not explore other means of looking into these issues? Because as a nation, by the virtue of our position in the globe, we should understand that the name and the integrity of our government is very important. So this undermines the integrity of the parliament. I think it's something, with fairness to the senator, I think he did the right thing by raising some concerns, airing his views, but I think there are more appropriate ways of airing those views.
But people will ask, like, what? Because, we live in a country now where everybody believes that if you don't disgrace people, they won't say anything. Because we've tried, people do interviews, there are a lot of whistleblowers, and nothing happens. So maybe he thought it's time to disgrace these people internationally for something to be done.
For something. In all fairness to him, actually, I think a society will not go down the drain so fast if only we have people that are not doing things the right way. I think it will be faster. The process of being denigrated or degenerating will be very fast if people that have the information or that can do things in a better way keep quiet and just hold their arms. In all fairness to him, I think coming out to say that, to even challenge the Senate House, is National Assembly per se, is a very laudable step. And actually, but we now come to the modality of it, the intonations, and also other things that can be considered around it. Yeah. Does it not suggest, because he went to say it on BBC House, why not another channel? After consulting with the Senate President, why not another way? It suggests some other things that we might want to look into. Maybe some of the questions, I actually speak like a legal practitioner, not as a political person. Yeah. But I want to also ask, for the conscience of the populace, that, okay, if now Arewa is coming out at this point in time to say that the Senate President should resign, does it not suggest to you that, by Section 50 of the Constitution, if the Senate President is not in power, it's the deputy Senate President, the deputy Senate President happens to be from the north, Kano. So now it suggests a whole lot of things. It suggests a whole lot of politicization in this whole issue. But I would, fairness to him, I would say that for us to stand up to say that there are some anomalies in some places is a laudable thing.
We're almost out of time. Yeah. Kafra, very, very quickly now, if you can hear me, what do you think happens next now? Because Senator Ningi was told to apologize. He didn't apologize. He's been given a 3-month suspension, within which, if he apologizes, he could be recalled. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, they're still looking into it. There are still a lot of talks, a lot of communication going on in the background, away from the public. And I think before the end of 3 months, we should see Ningi coming back. We hope for an apology from him. And most importantly, for me, I think, like the other speakers saying, when we begin to, or when we continue putting sentiments into a lot of things, for me, I'm a northerner, but then it's not about the North, it's not about what Ningi said. And then I'm also an APC member, so that makes me supposed to be against Ningi. But sometimes I think as a Nigerian, as a patriotic person, we need to start raising questions about some of the ways these things have been done. You know, it's we just hope that Ningi, yes, before the end of 3 months, we'll be called back, and then let's see things changing. Let's see things changing. But we need to look into these questions, things he has raised. It's a concern for Nigerians, you know, because what we're going through right now has nothing to do with region and all that. We need to start calling people and making them accountable for a lot of things. Let's fix the economy. That's the most important thing. And except we start asking or questioning reality, questioning the things we see, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. The economy may not get better.
Very quickly, knowing how Nigeria works, you think we're going to get any answers? Or there's going to be another crisis next week and we'll move on?
Well, I think this honorable senator should keep his gunpowder dry, because that's not the end of budgetary. After the approval of the budget, there is implementation, there's also the audit stage. So after now, maybe he can keep his gunpowder dry. When the implementation comes in, and yes, it will open the whole thing. And you can now begin to ask questions. This money, this disbursement, what was it used for? What was it used for? Then we can now say, okay, the allegations that were actually made, they were directed properly.
Thank you very much, Rubbin. Thank you very much, Kafakaina from Abuja. This is going to be a very engaging situation. I think we're going to be watching for the coming weeks and probably months. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Like I was saying, you can follow us on social media. Please use the hashtag #RubbinMinds when you send us a message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday.